What's up, guys, and welcome to this segment of Pinckney's Prospects. I'm Billy Pinckney, and today we're joined by Chicago Cubs prospect Michael McAvene. Michael, thanks for coming on.
Hey Billy, thanks for having me on here today. I'm glad I get the chance to chat with you here.
For sure. Now let's start off by talking about your college days. You attended the University of Louisville. Lots of great players have come out of that school. Can you talk about your experience playing for them?
My experience playing for them was pretty great. A little different beyond the normal. My freshman year, I only played half the season. I started a little bit in the weekend rotation right away, had some struggles, went into the bullpen, and then ended up blowing out my arm halfway through my freshman year. And so then lost the rest of that year. And obviously it's a 12-month process at least. And so I wasn't going to be ready until the halfway point of the next season. So worked hard on my rehab, got stronger, got everything a lot better. But all during that, I had to sit in my dorm room and watch the team in Omaha that year that I had been with, because it was better for me to stay back and stay focused on my rehab than to go with the team. But then I came back and I came out of the bullpen primarily there in short stints because I was fresh off Tommy John. They were limiting my pitches, taking care of my arm, and just making sure that my comeback was going to be smooth and steady. And then I ended up taking on a little bit bigger of a role by the end of the year and the closer, because our closer Sam Bordner got hurt, and had a little bit of success there towards the end of the season. But our season, we ended up losing in the regional out at Texas Tech. And then my last year came out and was the closer from the beginning of the season, and didn't really do a whole lot of closing roles, a lot of 2-inning stints, 3-inning stints here and there, a lot of extended relief, but still got the saves and everything like that. But when I was there, man, the culture and the coaches, they're unmatched. They have built one of the best baseball atmospheres I think you can be in as a player, and that really helps you grow and be prepared for that next step to go to the pros. And I think that's why you see a lot of guys in that history of getting in there and having success, such as Will Smith just recently here in the World Series. I watched him play his junior year in 2016 in the Super Regional when they had lost. So I mean, to see him from there to the big leagues like that it's amazing, because he comes around quite a bit.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you also had the opportunity to play in the College World Series, so I'm sure playing in that type of high-intensity event will help you moving forward as you ascend throughout the minor leagues and hopefully into the major leagues one day.
Yeah, I would definitely think so. We were all talking when we were out there, that's got to be as close to the big league environment as you can have. I mean, you got 28,000 in the stands when we were playing Vanderbilt that last day. It's loud, it's different, and but at the same time, you learn a different way to just kind of dole out the sound, and it's definitely something that's going to help once you get up to that level one day.
Right. And then in 2019, the Cubs drafted you in the third round, high draft choice. Where were you when you found out that you were drafted, and how special is it for you and your family?
Well, mine's kind of a funny story. We had just finished regional play, and it was that next Monday, and we were working out. We were all in the weight room, and I had been sitting by my phone, going through the workout, watching the draft they had it up on all the TVs in our weight room, and had my phone on me. And then as I was finishing the workout, I got the call from my agent. He was like, "Hey, the Cubs want to take you with this next pick. What do you think?" And I just said yes. I didn't even think twice about it. I was so happy, so excited to get drafted by them. And then the even cooler thing was after I got done with my work, once that was done, my coach said, "Hey, you can go on back. You're good." And I said, "Thanks, man." And I called my parents, and they had driven down that day from Indianapolis to Louisville to go out to lunch with me and celebrate. And it was pretty it was pretty surreal and an exciting experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, so far you spent a season in pro ball, played a part of 2019 in single A, and recorded a 1.42 ERA in 6 starts. Great numbers. I've spoken to a lot of
Thank
guys
you.
about the adjustments that they had to make from collegiate ball to pro ball. Were there any significant changes that you had to make in order to be successful with the Cubs?
I think the one adjustment that I had to make was going from having the game sort of called for me and thought through for me to thinking through myself and really kind of attacking a lineup with my plan against the scouting report, though, and being able to work with my catcher. And at first, I just really, we had an experienced catcher, Caleb Knight, up there. He'd played up there in the past year as well. So he kind of knew what he was doing, and I kind of trusted in him in the beginning. And we were really good about talking and exchanging ideas on what we were thinking. And he really helped me make that adjustment. And then once you make that adjustment, it, like I said, because our culture at Louisville is so just work-based, like once you have a job to do. So once you prepare for your job and when it's your day, you go out, you do your job to the best of your ability. And so that didn't really change for me going into pro ball. It's just learning how to prepare without having a full set schedule, like what my schedule wanted to be, Right. And so, but I thank that culture at Louisville for helping me out with that.
Right, that's awesome. Now, what type of pitches do you throw? Are there any that are in the works that you've improved since 2019?
So I still throw 4-seam, 2-seam, 4-seam fastballs, primarily a 2-seam, and I work the 4-seam in certain areas. A changeup that has progressed a lot over the quarantine and all of my throwing that I've done, and it's gotten a lot better. I'm excited to implement it in this next year once we get spring training, the season rolling around. Of course, my slider's always been my pitch, in college and everything. That was what I relied on, and it's just as sharp as ever. And then I've been working on a new curveball, a little spike curveball grip, and it's starting to take shape. Hoping to get it a little bit more consistent here in the off season before the spring training, and it'll be ready to go by 2021. It's next year, right? Yeah.
Yep. Have you noticed any challenges in throwing both a curveball and a slider? I know you said you're working on that spike curveball, but some guys say that. I talked to someone last week, and he said how he was working on 2 different pitches that are very similar, and they're kind of meshing into one type of pitch, kind of like a slurve.
Yeah, I had that issue, I think, in college going into pro ball. Okay. In my last year, my slider and my curveball. My slider, although I would throw it harder, would take the same shape as my curveball, which would just be a little bit softer. Maybe I would get a little bit more depth. But once I got into pro ball, I had Josh, our rehab coordinator, who was looking over us as we were throwing and getting going after we got drafted. After I threw in my first lap, he was like, "What'd you find out?" I was like, "Well, my curveball and my slider kind of blend together." He goes, "Well, tell me what you think." And we talked it over and everything, and he told me to make one little change. And once I made that change, I noticed that I didn't have as many issues with taken away from the both. I feel like I can throw the slider and the curveball, but I can distinguish the both so they don't really blend together.
Yeah, that's important too. And then you mentioned the changeup you've been working on throughout this long off season. This past season was canceled. So do you feel that your development was or wasn't impacted by it? I mean, you mentioned that you're working on it, so I'm sure your development wasn't put on hold too much because you're still able to work on some things that you wouldn't be able to work on during a normal season.
No, I definitely think that you lose a little bit of the development part because you lose the in-game experience and just that competitive edge. There's obviously great game that can come from the extended off season, though. You know, you can really get in the technical work and get in on the technical side of it. But I definitely think there is a sacrifice to losing the actual end game aspect of it. But not only do you just look at it from a technical baseball side, a lot of guys that I know and a couple of guys that I work out with from other organizations that are in the area, we really took into making our bodies better and getting into the right shape, getting strong, getting our bodies where it needs to be so that we're ready to go for the whenever we're ready to go.
Right. Now, I asked this question to all the prospects that I talked to. Is there anyone you've modeled your game after, or someone who has influenced your game along the way?
Model my game after, I don't know if I have really any pros that I've ever tried to model my mechanics after too much. One of the guys that I followed when I was young was Tim Lincecum, and he was kind of when I got into pitching. So would I say I took a couple of things away from him? Yes, but do I have his full delivery? Obviously not. I worked with a guy who played a little bit of big league baseball, but spent a lot of time in AAA, Chad Ricketts with the Blue Jays. And I would say he's more of the guy that helped model my pitching and my delivery through the years.
Right. And the last question I want to ask you, and I asked every guy about it, is what advice you would give to younger prospects, whether in high school or college, who might be going through that process of recruitment and getting drafted?
You just got to stay focused to the process. You know, you can't control what each person's going to think about you. You have to just put in the work and show out on the field. That's going to speak the loudest, more than anything you can tell them. So just put your nose to the grindstone, really, really work hard, not just at baseball, work hard in school if you're looking to be recruited to go to college. But not only that, it just makes you more diligent in your work as well. Work hard in the weight room, get stronger, really trying to build your body and make it as healthy as you can and strong as you can so that you can be durable through a whole season. Kill the nutrition side. You know, don't eat like crap. You don't have to necessarily just eat greens and chicken and rice and all that stuff. I don't do that. But, you know, mix that in more times than not. You can still have fast food, but maybe for dinner then you cook chicken and rice and a vegetable. And, you know, just things like that can help increase your performance on the field, because obviously we all work hard on the baseball side of it. You know, guys that hit, they take thousands and thousands and thousands of swings in the off season, and guys that pitch will throw bullpens twice a week, and we'll throw all the time to just try and get that feel, get that pitch, get all that. That's never in question. It's the other side of the game that helps separate players.
Awesome stuff. All right, Michael, I appreciate you coming on, and enjoy the rest of the offseason.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Billy. Sorry about all the background noise.
That's fine.
I'm at home, so couple of things rolling around. But glad you had me on. It was nice talking.
All right, to all you guys watching, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time here on Pinckney's Prospects.